Hello, you're very welcome to Freemasons Hall here in Molesworth Street, Dublin, the headquarters of Irish Freemasonry and the administrative centre for the 800 or so Irish lodges throughout the island of Ireland, and indeed some of them all over the world. The building itself was built around about 1866, started work in 1870 in the Masonic context, and it's a very fine building, erected during the reign of the then Duke of Leinster, who was 63 years our Grand Master. We still have this building used for Masonic and for a number of other purposes. We like to welcome people to the building. It's a heritage building, it's part of Dublin, and we're very anxious to have as many visitors to the building as possible. It's a hidden gem, it's a jewel of Irish architecture. And for many, many years, indeed during my childhood, it was locked away behind those big doors facing out into Molesworth Street. Here we're looking at the Grand Lodge room, which is the Parliament-style room, which is used as the meeting room for the Grand Lodge of Ireland itself. Grand Master sits in that large throne up at the front of the room, and the members of Grand Lodge sit on the various benches around. The meetings themselves are usually quite short, about an hour and a quarter long, and they are basically to endorse decisions made by the brethren regarding, for example, grand officers or disbursement of benevolent funding, etc., etc. The chappies around the walls there are of some interest to visitors, mainly the Duke of Leinster on the left-hand side of the room, who, of course, at one stage had his townhouse over the road from us in Leinster House and was Grand Master of Masons for longer than any other Grand Master that I'm aware of, for 63 years. This is the Royal Arch Room. It's a later stage in Freemasonry where we commemorate the Hebrews returning from Egypt to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple, but we had an Irish builder decorate it in 1890, and the minute he heard Egypt, of course, he said, we'll have to have sphinxes, so we have sphinxes and lilies for the Nile and Egyptian heads, etc., most of which have nothing whatsoever to do with the Masonic activity in this room, but it makes for a beautiful piece of Victoriana. It's quite an impressive room. We're standing here in the Mark Room, which is basically the room where we perform an intermediate degree or ceremony in Freemasonry prior to entering the Royal Arch Room, which you'll be seeing next. This room is interesting to see because it's fairly exemplary of what anyone would see in an ordinary country Masonic lodge, perhaps without the ornate portraits, etc. It's a plain room, something like a nonconformist chapel. This room is a mock-up of a Knight Templar Chapel. There's actually no documented link whatsoever between Masonic Templar Masons and the old Knights Templar, but nevertheless it's a beautiful room, very unusual. It's in no sense a church. It's a stage for the enactment of a Masonic drama. I sometimes have difficulty in explaining this room because while the Masonic order is non-denominational, there are branches of the order which are open to Christian brethren who wish to join. This is the Prince Mason's room, and it's my favourite room in the entire building. It's got a lot. It's got more symbolism than any of the other rooms, in terms of the rose over the fireplace reflected in the red of the carpet, the pelican in the stained glass window at the back of the room, reflecting again the benevolence of the pelican in picking her breast to feed her young with her own blood during famine. Other symbols in the room are the 3 chandeliers, the 3 of Freemasonry, with 11 lights in each, giving us 33, the number of members of this branch of Prince Masons. Freemasons Hall will be open to the public on Culture Night, as it is every year. We're usually one of the biggest draws in Dublin, but we deliberately have avoided arranging bookings because we feel that we'd like to welcome the public as they come along. There'll probably be a bit of a queue, but we have it better organised than we did the first or second year, in such a way that we hope that everyone who comes to see us will get into the building on Culture Night, and I look forward to seeing you here then.